There are those who enter a room and shift nothing. Not a glance, not a breath. And then there are those whose silence rearranges the air itself. What is it about certain people? They don't speak, they don't boast, and yet the room begins to orbit them. Others lean closer, attention tilts in their direction. Without effort, they dominate. This isn't charisma. It's not charm. It's something older, more calculated. It's control without command, and Machiavelli, that cold, precise observer of human behavior, knew exactly why he didn't write about power as fantasy. He wrote it as anatomy, as psychology, his greatest lesson. You don't need to raise your voice to raise your value, because power is perception, and the most powerful. Perception is restraint. The man who speaks first loses ground. The man who seeks approval gives it away, but the one who holds still, who studies, calculates, waits, that is the one people fear, respect, and ultimately follow. Machiavelli saw the world not as a place of fairness, but of forces, and in a room full of people, the one who can master tension, who can sit inside discomfort without flinching, is the one who quietly rules it. So what does this look like? Imagine you walk into a room. Do you announce yourself with nervous chatter, or do you let your presence speak before your mouth does? Quietest man in the room is not weak. He is the one watching how others crave attention. He is the one counting every social move like pieces on a board. He is the one who speaks last and lands first. Machiavelli's genius was an understanding that power flows toward mystery, and mystery begins with restraint. If you can keep your thoughts behind your eyes, not in your mouth, if you can let others project onto you what they want to believe, then you become unreadable, and unreadable is untouchable. Control doesn't come from dominating others. It comes from controlling yourself, and few have the patience to do that, because silence feels like invisibility to the insecure, but to the strategist, silence is a weapon. Every time you resist the urge to explain yourself, every time you let someone else overreach while you stay still, you claim space. You cultivate gravity, and gravity is what makes others revolve around you. This is not manipulation. It is mastery, mastery of presence, mastery of emotion, mastery of the moment. Machiavelli never said to be cold. He said to be calculated. Don't let your heart vanish, but let it be guarded. Let it speak through your eyes, not your desperation. Because the truth is this: most people are not listening. They are scanning for weakness, for neediness, for any signal that you are less than what they want you to be. When you speak too soon, you give them those signals. When you laugh too hard, lean too far forward, reveal too much too quickly, you become smaller, not because you are small, but because you gave away what should have been held. The art of controlling a room begins in this sacred refusal. The refusal to shrink, the refusal to beg, the refusal to mistake noise for presence. People remember what they can't quite define. They respect what they can't quite predict, and they fear what they can't fully read. So you want to control a room? You don't do it by force. You do it by being the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't fill the silence, the one who listens like a mirror, reflecting everything, revealing nothing. Machiavelli said it is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. That means you walk into every room as though your worth is already proven. You don't audition for power. You assume it quietly, calmly, completely. And here's the paradox. When you stop needing to control others, you begin to, not through pressure, but through presence. Power is not taken. It is given by those who sense it in you, but only if you stop trying to prove it. Now, stay still. Feel that shift in posture, in attention and energy. That is the beginning. The room may not know it yet, but you've already started to own it. That moment, the shift you feel when silence becomes attention, is the moment Machiavelli would tell you to trust, not because it flatters your ego, but because it is the first ripple of control. You've entered the room, you've said nothing. You've reacted to no one, and yet the air curves around your restraint. This is not magic, this is discipline, and discipline, as Machiavelli understood, is the rarest form of power, because most people don't walk into a room. They leak into it. They pour out their need to be seen, liked, accepted. They perform smiles that aren't real. They tell jokes they don't believe. They reach for eyes and laughs and nods like a thirsty man reaching for water. Machiavelli watched such men and dismissed them. He believed that influence does not come from seeking approval. It comes from making others adjust to youth. Silent man, the composed woman, the figure who is not pulled by the tides of chatter. They become the fixed point, and all else begins. To orbit, it's not about being cold, it's about being unmoved, because what you signal silently is this: I do not need you to make me real. That is the root of invisible power. To control a room, you must first stop being controlled by it. No emotional leakages, no frantic expressions, no scanning for acceptance. You must be complete before you step inside. But how? Start with a face. A relaxed face is a confident mind. Tension in the eyes, clenching in the jaw, twitching at the mouth. These are signs of self-doubt. And people read faces faster than they read words. Machiavelli would tell you, your face is your fortress. Let no anxiety breach it. Let no overreaction leave its walls. Then posture. Do not shrink, do not fidget, do not fold inward. You are not apologizing for your existence. You are not asking for a seat. You are choosing to occupy space. Room reads posture before it hears voice, before it understands words, before it processes anything. It responds to how you carry yourself. And here is the critical Machiavellian insight. Confidence is not just felt, it is enforced. You do not wait for it to arrive. You act as though it's already there, because confidence does not begin inside. It is born when you decide that your inner world does not need to prove itself to the outer one. Now, let's go deeper. Control is not maintained by silence alone. Silence is the beginning, the sacred space, but what you fill it with matters. Machiavelli believed that all great leaders, all true strategists must master three silent arts: observation, calculation. Observation is the art of scanning without revealing. You enter a room and you see, truly see, who is trying too hard, who is insecure, who is positioning themselves for attention, who is the real center, and who only thinks they are. You watch the social games without entering them. You become the mirror to others. Masks. Calculation is what you do with what you see. You begin to understand how the group flows. You recognize alliances, rivalries, unspoken tensions. You see who leads through speech and who leads through stillness. And then you choose your moves slowly, intentionally. You do not waste words. You do not react to provocation, because every reaction steals presence. The quiet strategist speaks only when it advances the position. Every glance is deliberate. Every word is timed. Every movement is a message. Calibration is the final mastery. It is knowing how to shift slightly, subtly, without losing power. Some rooms require a colder posture, some warmth, some curiosity, some directness. The Machiavellian does not change core principles, but adjusts the surface language, like a general adjusting formation. Depending on terrain, the goal is not to deceive. The goal is to dominate with dignity, to be the most flexible, but also the most fixed, to bend while rooted, to observe while remaining hidden. This is the power most people never taste. They are too loud, too eager, too desperate to be received. But when you release that need, when you allow yourself to be the mystery, Others begin to fill in the gaps with their projections. They assume you are intelligent or dangerous or in control or uninterested. And that assumption becomes power because people treat you not based on who you are, but who they think you are. This is not manipulation. This is ancient psychology. It's how kings rose, how empires formed, how generals led armies without raising. Their voice they understood, the energy of presence. Think of a lion. It does not roar to prove itself. It moves, and the jungle parts. Machiavelli wanted you to become that. Not a performer of power, but a presence of it which leads us to the next level. Do not just control a room. Control what people say when you leave it. Let your silence echo. Let your restraint become legend. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them imagine what your goals are. Because the less you reveal, the more they... Remember, Machiavelli said men in general judge more from appearances than from reality. All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration. What does this mean for you? It means your image is your instrument. It means if you appear thoughtful, powerful, composed, you will be treated as such even before you've done anything to prove it. So shape your image with discipline. Walk into a room with the inner belief that you need nothing, and watch how others begin to offer everything. And once the room has tilted, once you've claimed space without words, you must do one more thing. Hold the line. Do not break character. Do not fall into flattery. Do not chase validation. Do not laugh at jokes you don't find funny, because the second you drop the silence, the second you start scrambling for belonging, you lose the kingdom you built. Presence is fragile, but if you maintain it, it becomes mythic. People will begin to talk about you differently. He doesn't say much, but when he speaks, people listen. She always knows what's going on, even when she's quiet. There's something about him. I can't explain it. That something is what Machiavelli called aura, a cultivated, controlled, composed aura of psychological gravity, and it cannot be faked. It is earned in every breath you hold back, every unnecessary comment you resist, every moment you choose to remain the mystery instead of proving your worth. Let others fight for attention. Let them out-talk each other. Let them play status games. You walk in, you say little, you observe, you let others show you who they are, because the one who speaks last speaks longest, and when you do speak, the room will fall silent, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. That is how you control any room, without a word. They say silence is golden, but Machiavelli would smirk at that, not because it's untrue, but because gold like silence must be protected. And once it's in your possession, others will try to steal it. This is the third stage, the hardest stage. You've entered the room with presence. You've resisted the pull of approval. You've controlled your posture, your energy, your gaze, but now the world begins to test you. Power, after all, is not a crown you wear. It's a weight you carry, and Machiavelli knew better than anyone. The higher you rise, the more subtle the attacks become. You won't be challenged openly. You'll be poked. You'll be joked at. You'll be baited into reacting. People will confuse your quiet with arrogance or weakness, and they will want to see you break character. And that's when your real training begins. Do you speak just to defend yourself? Do you explain when no explanation is needed? Do you clarify your silence because you fear it's misunderstood? Do you remain what Machiavelli admired most? The unmoved mover. He warned of this very moment. He saw how even the strongest men collapse under the need to be seen correctly. And the second you try to control the way others see you by their terms, you've already surrendered your position. Control is not about correcting people. It's about being so sure of yourself that correction is unnecessary. You walk through fire and do not announce that you're fireproof. You simply do not. Vernon, here's the paradox Machiavelli would ask you to master. You must learn to inspire fear without showing teeth, earn loyalty without asking for it, command rooms without dominating them, because fear in its purest form does not come from raised voices or threats. It comes from uncertainty when people don't know what you're thinking, when your silence cannot be decoded, when your next move is never obvious. They fear not you, but what they don't know about you, and that makes them cautious. It makes them study you, respect you, even admire you. But admiration is not the goal. Power is only sustainable if it is invisible. You don't want them to say you're powerful. You want them to feel it, without being able to explain why. You want to become a presence that shapes the air in a room, not with sound, but with gravity. And this is where you rise above mere tactics. You stop asking, what do I do in this situation, and start becoming someone who shapes the situation by existing inside it. You don't adapt to rooms. Rooms begin to adapt to you because Machiavelli knew. The final level of power is not reactive, it's atmospheric. You are not a player in the game. You are the weather system above the game. When you walk in, dynamics shift. When you speak, silence follows. When you leave, people talk, not because of what you did, but because of how they felt around you. That feeling is engineered. It is intentional. It is the result of inner architecture. That does not sway with emotion. That does not need validation. That does not seek correction. But how do you build that architecture? You begin by asking yourself this: what do I lose by being misunderstood? Most people live in fear of being misunderstood. They rush to explain, justify, decode their thoughts to others. They beg to be seen clearly, but what if being misunderstood was your greatest power? Because when they misunderstand you, they fill in the gaps with projection, and if you've done your job silently, if your presence is calm, poised, self-assured, their projection will be one of strength. They will believe you are in control, not because you told them so, but because they had to believe something, and your silence gave them nothing. To dismantle this is the art of psychological invisibility. You are there, you are felt, but you cannot be grasped. Machiavelli admired those who ruled not with weapons, but with ambiguity. The ruler whose next decision was unreadable, the noble whose loyalty seemed obvious until it wasn't, the strategist who appeared simple until you saw what he'd been planning for years. These are not just tactics, this is identity. You must become the person who no longer needs to play the power game, because you've become the board it's played on. But here's the warning. Machiavelli would whisper into your ear, this path is not for the faint of heart. It requires sacrifice. You will not be loved easily. You will not be read correctly. You will not be invited into every circle. Some will fear you. Others will envy you. A few will hate you, but all will remember you. And the ones who understand, the ones who value what you bring, will follow you not because they're told to, but because they feel they must. That's the true Machiavellian elegance, not forcing outcomes, but becoming the gravitational pull around which outcomes begin to orbit. The next time you step into a room, remember this: say less, feel more, reveal nothing. Let your silence be so composed it echoes louder than speeches. Let your presence be so whole it collapses insecurities around it. Let your restraint be so elegant that others mistake it for genius. And let your every step remind the world you do not need words to be heard. You do not need noise to lead. You do not need approval to matter. You are already the current beneath the surface, shifting minds, moving tides, controlling rooms without ever raising your voice. If this video made you think differently, even for a moment, You already understand what Machiavelli meant by real control. Comment your thoughts below and share this with someone who moves in silence. They might be more powerful than they know.